Welcome everyone tuning in with us for the live Filmmakers Talk Canadian Spotlight for Ketchup and Soya Sauce at the 24th Annual Vancouver Film Festival. I'm Michelle Eliot, CBC radio host of BC Today. I'd like to acknowledge we are broadcasting from the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. I'm joined here now by the director of Ketchup and Soy Sauce, Zhimin Hu. Zhimin, welcome.
Hi.
Hi, very nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
I so enjoyed the film, and I know that you're joined there as well by your husband, David Susi.
Yes.
Indeed.
Hello, good evening to both of you. So great to be with you. Why don't we start, Zhimin, by just asking you, your take on the film?
Yes. I think as an immigrant, I came to Canada. The first impressions, and then for me, all I can put in this way, the most valuable things, it's about diversity. I think this is all about this ketchup and soya sauce. It's all about the diversity and how the Canadian society progressed over 80 years, and you see the change. Yeah, that is the number one thing that I want to talk about. And the second point I want to talk about in this film, it's love. Even though we put it, talk about the first generation Chinese immigrants, the mixed relationship over 80 years, but deep down, you see, despite all the differences that we have, because we're born, raised in different soil, we have different background cultures, and we have very different, the way of communicate with each other, food habits, and mentality, all of that. But deep down, we have the commons in a fundamental value. And that is hold the relationship. So today, when we talk about relationship, love, and then all of that, it's like we talk about how you chose your partner. You chose someone because his color of the skin, or his career, or his education, and all of that. But we are forgot the most important thing is the fundamental, the base of the two person is the value, the same point of view of humanity and all of that. That is the base of any relationship. So looks like a film about mixed relationship, but it really talk about love. And then the reason when I'm making the film actually is because our own experience. David's born and raised in US. I'm born and raised in China, and we met online. And I remember the first day he drove 5-6 hours from Boston all the way to Montreal, and then we went to a tea house. That's how we started. The whole thing.
You drove 5 or 6 hours
from Boston.
Yes, I did.
Wow, that's quite the leap. Okay,
It's commitment.
So everything goes so well. Love is beautiful, but as we get married, have kids, and there's lots of everyday, chore comes in. And I was in a group of people, a group of mother. They are all first generation immigrant like me, Chinese, and married with a non-Chinese partner, and we are all mothers. So in the group, we have all the discussions, and then we complain our husbands, and then we show off how cute our baby is. But at the same time, I learned so much from the others how to handle the relationship, because this conflict comes in, how we handle it, the relationship with the mother-in-law, and then different cultures and all the problem obstacles. And I was like, wow, I really need to make a film about that. But even before that, I already feel like want to expand this topics, want to make a film about that. So and in this group, mostly it's the mother is my age. We are share the same thing. But I want to go, different age to expand my my research and learning from elder people, and then I get to more interesting the history of the whole mixed relationship. How the people older than us and how they handle it, how they go through it, and I just discover the mixed relationship in different times have different challenge and what they went through and what they get over, and then it's so different than our generation, because mixed relationship really started to blossom. It's started from, I think, year 2000. As my research doing is, ever since the internet dating become popular, and mixed relationship grow, and before it's more like we're meeting in person, and then ever since the internet dating, that we can communicate more deeper. I mean, we wrote each other many letters, and I think a month or two before we met.
The notebook is that thick.
Yeah,
the proof is there. I can't hide from it. Yeah.
So we actually become friends before we date. So actually, it's good because we can share, our really, show who he is. We're not distracted by our appearance, the way we talk. Maybe he's very shy, he doesn't know how to express himself. But through writing, we just, suddenly one day I just felt like, wow, it's like someone I can exchange, I can share so many things with him. And it's like someone so close to my heart. Suddenly, I never met him in person.
It was words.
Yeah. And then I say to him, I was like, hey, I wrote him and I said, hey, let's have a tea or beer or something like that.
I'm glad to hear that you admit that you asked me. That's good. It was courting. It was courting instead of dating, which is an old-fashioned term, but it works very well.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you to, having had this experience together, to be making this film and sort of seeing your life reflected in each of these 5 couples?
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. There's some partially are like the couple close to our age, close to our time. Yes, we share lots of common, but a little bit like older generations, like we have we talk about 6 love story, and then we started from Velma, Zimei. Zimei is in the 80. Velma already passed away, and then another couple is Steve and Stanley. They are different. They are not in our time, but all the others we really do share a lot of comments, and actually our story it's been told through all of that together. For example, talk about Purple Rain.
That was such a funny moment.
I grow up in China, and during that period of time, China is not open. They don't have a lot of exchange with US, so we don't know anything about the pop culture in US, and so really I don't grow up with Purple Rain. So if you talk about Purple Rain, what is that?
Who's Prince? Yeah.
Yeah, who is Prince? So it's actually adds a lot of flavor in our relationship. That is because I feel there's so much for me to learn. It is fun. It's a challenge. If you see the challenge, you see the obstacle as a challenge. It's a fun because after you conquer that, you get a lot more, gain a lot more. We both learn a lot from each other, and we're still learning
every day.
Yeah, over what, 10 years?
More than that.
And what about for you, David? What was it like then to watch the film and kind of see in the younger couples, elements of your own relationship?
I think it's very true. And, you pick up pieces and parts. Everyone's different, obviously. There are pieces that don't fit. There are pieces that are very familiar. I chuckled because as it was being edited, I got to see it many times. And every time I see something different. And I pick up a nuance here and there, the way someone says something, and how much it means to them. And again, very, very close to my heart, a lot of the statements that were made by any of those couples. I certainly understand it.
Throughout all the couples, one thing, communication is important. It can be a barrier when you have different languages and cultural norms, of course, but it's also seems to be the most important thing. How do we overcome that barrier of different languages, different sense of humor, different approach to even, who pays at a restaurant? How do you overcome those differences?
I think what in the documentary, Steve have explained that, and then that really resonate our experience. For example, he talked about there's so many, for Chinese people, we have so many layers of communications. The way we brought up, women have to talk soft. So, for example, if I want him to take care of the trash, I would not say, "Honey, go take care of the trash." I feel it's like, not very ladylike. So I would said, "Honey, the trash smell bad."
It's a little full. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so we used to a little bit detour. We don't want to be too bossy to our husband. It's just the way we brought up, and he was frustrated about that. He said, "Why don't you just tell me you want me to take care of the trash? Why can't you just say it?" Now we're getting better with each other, but it was quite frustrating.
It takes a long time. You have to catch different things in language, and even the same word can have different meaning to two people, and especially when you're coming from, quite frankly, as we were the opposite sides of the earth.
Yes.
It takes a few years to get to the point where you think alike, you feel alike, but the way you communicate has to change, and you have to move towards the middle and make sure that the other person is understanding exactly what you mean. It's a skill set that comes with time.
One thing that struck me as well, and I'd love to ask you your experience, is how important it was for some of the characters to establish relationships with extended family. And you had someone very nervous about, oh, I don't know how his parents feel about me, and I get worried about how I speak. I can speak a little bit of Chinese, but I get nervous around them. What's that been like for you, dealing with extended family?
Well, I'll start that one since you looked at me. I caught that. I've been very lucky in that both of her parents are extremely open. We've been to China. They've been here, and even though they speak essentially no English, and I speak essentially absolutely no Chinese languages, we got along very well. And it comes down to a point of again, if I've been with Zhimin long enough to understand what a face means or what emotion means, it works with the parents too, because that's who she learned all of that from. So it was really, really a great time to have them here and to be over there. And somehow you just managed to communicate.
I find it's amazing that they don't, they don't speak the same language. Ends up they're able to, have a harmony together and get along together and then travel together with the hand fingers and all of that. Sometimes I think if they don't really communicate, really understand each other, it's a good thing, because
she controls the relationship.
I translate. I can choose what to translate, what not to translate, and then sometimes you can get over, because different culture, like sometimes could be frustrated. Like, for example, my mother are used to lecture me. It's like, do this, do that. You need to take care of the kids. You need to take care of your husband. And then why you didn't do it, bossing me around. But if my husband knew it, he probably get frustrated. It's upsetting. Why you say that to my wife? So if I don't translate, oh, my mother's just making a joke with me, and you don't. And then he was like, okay, yeah, she's making a joke, but I don't see you guys like laughing or something.
I think the cat's out of the bag now, though.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
So I'd love to ask you as well, Zhimin, you did so much research into this as well. So this goes, this is very personal for you, but also you researched history.
Yes.
What struck you the most about what you learned?
Oh my God. Velma Damison's story. I feel really bad that the film was out after she passed away. I really wish she can, see this film. And I do a lot of research about Velma, and I get to connect with her. And at the beginning, she refused to accept my interview. Refused my interview. I can understand that, because like every time you talk about a very painful past, you opens up your scar, and it's not pleasant at all. So I totally understand. So I said, can I met you? We just have a talk personal person, and then I like to scan some of your photo. Can I use those material for my documentary? I felt it's very important, your story to my film, because this is really important part of history, and then people need to know that. She said okay, so we came to visit her, and we have a blast in the evening. We talk so much, and then we just get along so much, so well. And David was bringing a big scanner and scanning the photos, and in her photo, we talk about everything. And then ends up, she say, okay, she agreed that let's do the interview. I like to be interviewed by you. And what was struck me the most, I asked her a question. I said, why you chose Harry? You know that at that time, at her time, a Caucasian woman go out with a Chinese man. Basically, people consider you at the bottom, and it's like prostitute or something like that. Very bad. And she's not come from a poor family, even though her parents divorced. Her father have a big business in New Brunswick, and her mother owns a building, a house. She's landlord collecting the rent. There's no financial problems there. So she chose Harry, and once and then I asked her why you make that choice. I remember very well, and even today, she said, oh, because he's good looking. I mean, it's like she's 90 years old woman, and then the face, it's still like radiate, it's like because he's good looking. I'm like, wow, that it's all about love. It's that simple. It's that simple, And I know another fact why she chose Harry, because at that time, women is not so well respected in the society. They are just, you're supposed to be a breeder, housewife, and she is a pretty strong woman. She is, a feminist, and then Harry was really respect her, and she loved that. It's rare at that time a man very respect a woman, even ask her permission before kiss her. That doesn't exist at that time. So she really was impressed by that. So she enjoys that relationship. And then she really paid a dear price for that, and she even told me the story about Harry used the name of Mary, sending her love letter, the exchange letter, and she had to hide Harry's, photos under her pillow. It was all those beautiful romantic story. And so that was like and then what another shocking to me is like, after she married Harry, she lost her Canadian citizenship. That was shock. It's like, oh my God. And the other thing is, they punish women, as Caucasian women or Chinese men, even Chinese are discriminated, but it's a woman get punished, threw in jail for a year. And then she get burned in the prison, and then she was treated like a dirt, hang out with a whole bunch of criminal. What crime she commit? I mean, that injustice, that it's like outrageous. So at the beginning of the film, you can see that a Caucasian father, because her daughter, get pregnant out of wedlock with a Chinese man. Okay, because of that, he threw her in jail. By the end of the film, you see almost 80 years later, a Caucasian woman, a Caucasian father get to know that her daughter was pregnant with a Chinese man, and he's touched. He almost cried. He was choking. He was excited. He's happy. And I see, wow, 80 years of progression of the society right there. Here you go. The attitude, everything, is shows the perception, everything is different. And I was like, wow. So I was very happy in the end of the editing table. I said, yes, that's the story I want to say. I want to tell.
Do you think, though, that there are still challenges?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's different. I think in early days, there's a lot of stereotype. Like, for example, Zhimin talk about the gold digger, when the automatically thinking about Caucasian men marry a young Chinese Asian. I have to say Asian women are, we do look a little bit younger than our age. Even my husband and I, we together, and then people ask him, question is how much he pay
how much did it cost to bring her over? Is what I was asked. I was not very happy with that. You know,
Yeah. So even today, there's still stereotype. You know, and meanwhile, I was like, I'm the Canadian. I
sponsored
I
me.
sponsored him came to Canada, but people would ask him is how much cost him to bring me over. You know, they still have this stereotype. You know, the old fashioned but that it's like, but in our generation, that it's a lot less than previous one.
Yeah.
I think the challenge for the new couple, it's different. It's more like we have different political will, different way of express our love, that type, but it's different. Yeah, different challenge.
Different challenge. What about, I was very curious about the children. I mean, would you make films about the kids?
Yes. Well, I think maybe one day. Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, they are like, especially the couple Flavia and Luc. You know, in their dinner table, you know, they speak 3 language. You know, the mother speak Mandarin with their kid, and the father speak French with the children's. And between the couple, they speak English, and it's very interesting. I mean, it in a way that I think now they're getting better. They mostly quite often they speak French together. You know, it is something, you know, for us. We chose English and to communicate, because I find it's important to have the father, everybody involving together. It's more solid, you know, together as a grow up as family. And also my kids can learn the other language, you know, but when we all together, we speak one language that everybody understands, involved.
Right.
Yeah.
And are there, beyond language, are there issues or conversations around parenting, and different styles of parenting?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I think in this film we didn't talk too much about parenting because there's not many room there. We try to deep a little bit down the question, but you know, so this is a little bit sad that we didn't have enough space to, because I was thinking about the pace of the film, so I didn't include in the parenting. Yeah, the parenting, it's very interesting because we really don't grow up in the same way, you know. Our parent is very different. I think it's I really like the way David, he's parenting. He actually taught me a lot how to do parenting, and it's very different because in my background, it's more what can I say, more tiger mom, more, you know, less, you know, because it's different culture. We learn how to respect our parent. We absolutely have to submissive, obey, you know. Parent doesn't need to listen to your explanation. When you put an order, it's order, and kids have to 100%, you know, follow. And then and I feel pain from those parenting as well. So when we're together, and David's really, he's a good father. He is he very patient. He will listen to them, and I learn a lot from him. So we don't have a lot of fight over parenting. I think we you know, because I think what it's amazing is both of us, we love to learn from each other. We are open minded. So whenever it works, you know, I was like, oh, it's a good trick. I learned from you. Yeah.
And I do the same. You it's like soup. You put in the best ingredients, and if each of you are putting in an ingredient, each of you is learning a new thing, right? So when you're done, hopefully the soup tastes good.
I like the food analogy: ketchup and soya sauce. After
Yeah.
all.
And by the way, they do taste very good together.
They do. It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
It's that sweet, salty, I think, that
Yeah.
blends together, right? It just reminds me of that lovely metaphor as well with Ryan and Gerald, the chopsticks and the fork, and again blending together. I wonder how each of these couples felt by the end of the filmmaking process.
Oh, I think it's wonderful because I actually see film as it's a type of art therapy. because when it went through the whole process, I think they all gained something. It's a reflection, helping them with reflecting, thinking about one of the important way that I make this film in a way that I separate the couple when I do interview. I don't put them together, and I purposely do that so they are more honest with themselves. They're not affected by the, saying something that upsetting their partner. They don't need to worry about that. It's the only time, only space, that I'm not only, I cannot say the word only. It's like I offer the space for them to express themselves, to be honest. And it was beautiful. And I was really touching, like, for example, look, in the end, he have a lot of complaint, but he have a lot of reflection, knowing that what he did, it's wrong, what he did is right. And then he did say that in the end, he said, yeah, I really, Flavia make me a better person. That part of the interview, I almost have tear in my eyes. I was deeply touched by him. And then it's beautiful. And then I have another day interview with Flavia, and then she very honest with me. I mean, I thank them so much because they're so open to me, and then so honest with me, sharing so much with me, and I'm learning from them as well. I grow as a person. I think after making this film, our relationship actually getting better.
Yeah, I agree.
We learn how to appreciate each other. We learn how to, all the skill, how to solve the problem, how to over the obstacle, and understand the perspective. Sometimes we don't even understand why it's like that. And then after we interview Steve and Stanley, it's like we learn, like, yeah, actually, it's right. Chinese, we think too much with too much detour, too many layers.
I started looking for a little notepad to write things on, and can't defer, and it was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's learning for us. Yeah.
It's such a wonderful way to examine how to reach compromise and how to meet in the middle. We live in such a polarized world now, and you've told this story and given these great examples of how people do it in their personal relationships, in their romantic relationships. What do you think broader society can learn from your film?
I think if two person born and raised in different countries can come together, get along together, and build a relationship, build a family together, I think there's nothing impossible for us to get along together in our society. I think this is one of the most beautiful thing about Canada in Canadian society is we are all different. We have all different background. We have different mentality, but we are, able to accepting. I don't like the word tolerant because tolerant is not accepting. You just suck up the pain. You're not learning each other. You're not accepting each other. You don't have the open mind. You don't have the empathy. So I think for people learning that it's like, we can accept people are different from us, and we can be happy together and build something together, and then have something, build something together. Yeah.
You're nodding, David. Is that something that you've taken away as well?
Absolutely. And I think another piece of that is it isn't what you look like. It isn't what you do. It isn't the color of your skin, eyes, hair, or anything else. It's who you are. And that's all that's important in any relationship. And if you're open to learning, if you're open to not just compromising, but actually stepping forward and being uncomfortable for a while and learning, and that is what I think greater society needs to do. Just learn. Don't reject things automatically because they're different. It can be a wonderful, wonderful voyage through. And I think it's been a voyage, and both of us have learned a tremendous amount during that.
And we'd be better person because we are expanding our world wheel, a knowledge, the way he brought up, and then what he learned, and me too, what I learned, we reach each other's, enhancing, our experience. It's beautiful. Exchange is good. So I think when you're seeing the differences, as an obstacle, you're suffering. When you're seeing is a challenge, you're enjoying it, you're learning. Yeah.
What a lovely way to sum it up. You both so eloquently expressed your views on this. I think we have some time for questions from our audience. And Susan Hansen asks, do you find the obstacles faced by the older interracial couples are any different than the younger interracial couples? Great question. Thank you, Susan.
I think they have more obstacle than us, than ours, because like first, the pressure from the society, they have a lot more obstacle, because there's like stereotype, their prejudice, you know, much greater than ours. As time goes by, younger generation, that part of pressure is going down, because you also worry about that. You're interesting with that person, but you're worried about how your people, not only your family, how to see you. If your family going to reject you, also, how about, your friends, your coworker, all of that, how they see you. So it's a lot more heavier than what we have. I think we're very lucky, born in the good time, in the golden age, that we don't have to went through those pain. I think, for example, Zimei started dating Marcel. The family was saying that, wow, maybe she's an Asian gold digger. It really put the pressure on her, and then feels like that's why for 20 years they didn't get married. They never lived together. They didn't get married together. And then I think Zimei is a very strong woman and very wise. She know that if they get married, there's a heritage problem, and that she will never able to be friend with Marcel's children. Will not have such a good relationship. That is the pressure, on the older generations for them.
Susan, thank you for that question. We have another question now from Royson, who asks, do you think one of your cultures will be more dominant in your children's lives? Is it important to you to teach them both of your cultures, or is one of you more invested in passing your culture on?
I think I think that the most dominant culture for our kids, it's the Canadian culture. It's the land where he was born and grow up, and where we live. And that is the most dominant, because I consider myself Canadian. And I really, my point of view, I live here for 20 years and I'm totally Canadian. So that is the most dominant culture in our family. And we have Canadian value, and that it's, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to teach them history and events and things like that from both, and to balance it. Letting one become more dominant than the other is unfair to the children. Very unfair. You want them to have that open world view as Canadians, which is a beautiful part of this culture because it exists widely.
Yeah.
Royson, totally. Thank you for that question. We are taking your questions as well to Zhimin Hu and David Susi. Ask us anything you'd like about the film, about interracial couples and lessons that they have learned as well. Do put it in to the chat. Do you get these questions? I wonder, through your friends. I mean, are these kinds of questions? David's
yeah, I do. I have a lot. Some of my friends ask me, it's how you handle, especially we have different food habits. Like you love American food, we don't crave the same type of food, and that it's like, and then especially for him at the beginning, it was really tough for him to go to Chinese grocery and to see the fish alive swimming in the, and then we bought the fish, and then it's like, oh my God, you just committed murder. And I was like, come on, honey, you have the fish fillet. What happened to the fillet? It's like they kill the fish.
But like, you don't see it.
Yeah, that is so yeah. It's very interesting. But I think as time goes by, what it's amazing is it's like he slowly fall in love the Chinese diet, the Chinese food, and yeah, I don't like American food. There's no way.
No, oh boy.
But I can say that I do eat my salad with chopsticks, and Zhimin is eating it with a fork now. So everything in there. It just touches you. But absolutely, you get the questions, and some of it is stereotypical, which I kind of stop right there and explain how it really works. Some of it is introspective. They're curious. They wonder, what makes this tick? You've got two very different people. How does it work? And they just want to understand that. So, I'm always open to it. But I'm getting a lot of questions all the time.
So we have another one now from Pratik, who asks a fun question. What about food? Well, here we are. We're back to food. What about food choices? Is it a compromise, or one style of food becomes the predominant choice in your weekly menu? I think people like us talking about food. So why don't you go ahead and delve into that a bit more?
I think it's I think it's important to really like compromise with each other, familiar with. I was pretty much like, so I think right now what we after 10 years with together, what we're doing is sometimes I more look into what is a healthy diet more, and then we because Canada, we are so we are, especially in diet, we have incredible diversity. So you have Irish pub, you have Iranian food, you have Italian pasta, you have French cuisine, Chinese food, you have Beijing, and especially we're immigrants, we love to try different things. So there's like, we not only cook Chinese food, we cook Japanese food, we have Indian food, we have all different things. It's really a big mix. So right now we both enjoy the having the variety in our menu. So actually we're both quite open-minded. He like Indian food, Indian curry, it's like, Chinese spicy, could not take it, but he can take Indian curry.
It's a different thing. Absolutely. Yeah.
So the now it's no longer a problem. We both find out that what we both like, both don't like, what is healthy, what it's not. Like, for example, for me at the beginning, eating salad is very challenged because all Chinese people, we cook our vegetable. And then the first time when I eat salad, I almost have tear comes out. I was like, oh my God, this is torture. It's difficult. And especially with the dressing and everything, it was the most difficult thing for me to adapt, but it's healthy. And slowly right now, I love it. I love salad. I make it more and more often, so it's slowly mixed in together, mingle together. We slowly get used to adapt it with each other. And then it's no longer a problem anymore.
No.
So sometimes if he's like, oh honey, I'm really crave pizza or something, let's go ahead, had it one night, I just give it to you, So, and then it's like, sometimes I have my time to Chinese restaurant, which I order like 4 or 5 dishes, and then he and with the kids sitting there just have one dishes or a bowl of rice, and then I say, why you don't eat the others? We're not hungry, we're just
Everybody has their own preferences.
They just being polite because they're not into those Chinese dishes like cow belly or something.
I've advanced, but I haven't gotten to that stage yet. I'll get there in another 10 years.
They've got quite the buffet in front of them every week, it sounds like. That's great. It's interesting too because ketchup and soy sauce we were talking about earlier. My background is I was born in the Philippines, and we make a dish called chicken adobo, and it's made with soy sauce. It's kind of, you braise chicken in the soy sauce, and vinegar as well. But my secret ingredient is I add a bit of ketchup to add some sweetness to it. So I love the title of the film. Susan is asking a question. Are there any plans to possibly do a documentary of the children of the couples and which culture they identify more with?
So far, actually, the funny thing is I'm more a filmmaker into fiction more than documentary. However, when the subject is so close to her, I don't care if it's fiction or documentary, I make it. So right now, my future plan, it's towards my first feature fictions. So I don't have documentary in my agenda. So I really appreciated mention that, because that gives me an idea and let me, think about that. Yes.
Wait a few years. What was it like for you to make the leap into documentary then?
It's because the subject really interests to me, really appealing. So I just could not, when something so interests to you, you just forget. So I learned a lot about documentary making, because fiction, it's all about script, everything, it's all arranged. Documentary, it's so different filmmaking. So I learned a lot through the whole process, how to make documentary, and how you set up the camera, how you make it, all of that. It's amazing. It's a learning process to me, and it's very valuable. Yes.
Do you see perhaps a feature film, a fictional film, maybe based on this topic as well in the future?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
The wheels are a bit in motion, apparently.
My next film, which is I just finished we're moving towards the early development. It's my film. It's called Under the Red Umbrella, and it's in the story. It's a mixed relationship. The mother is Chinese and the father is Caucasian, and they have a mixed children. And that was the setup in the film. Yes.
I'm fascinated already. The title is beautiful.
Yes, it's a ghost film. It's about love-hate relationship between mother and daughter, and underneath all of the layers, a layer K1 layer and 2 layer, and the last layer is about a woman raise a child that is a result of the rape. So it's about her, how she went through the pain and all the struggles. It's not a film just make you cry. It's a film is comic. It's a funny, make you laugh most of the time, and laugh in the end. You might have tear come out.
But a lot of the subjects are discussed there that are here. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
It's interesting. Yes,
a lot of them.
Well, you talked about the layers. I think it was Steve, I believe, who talked about all the layers when they tried to communicate.
He didn't like the chicken, boy. He got.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
It was just about the chicken.
Yeah. I know that statement. It's only the chicken. Yeah. It happens.
I think over 10 years, things get much easier.
Far easier.
Yeah, we sometimes he was that I was thinking about water. He would just already bring me a glass of water. We almost sink together. Yeah. You can have some example for that too. Like a bingo. It's like, yeah, I was just thinking about that. He already bring me over.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yes.
All the time, actually. Yeah.
What an absolute pleasure to speak with both of you this evening. It's been so great. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
It's been great to be here. Thank you.
Pleasure's ours.
What a wonderful film. I look forward to your next movie as well.
Thank you.
Zhimin Hu and David Susi. Zhimin Hu, the filmmaker behind Ketchup and Soya Sauce. I'm Michelle Eliot from CBC Vancouver. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Have a great evening.
Thank you.